Hey everyone, welcome to SF Garnish Music Production. My name is Justin Ancheta. Thanks to the Garnish Music Network for having us out from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. We're going to get into a bunch of different styles of music today, specifically working on racks. And it's not really genre specific, but it's mostly around how you can, within Ableton, create these custom racks. It's almost like creating your own instrument. And we can even get into, using some simpler alongside a rack, right, to create your own sounds and custom sounds effects. Specifically today, I'm going to be focusing on bass and a custom rack for my ukulele bass. Let's see if you guys can see this right here. So it's on a little stand, and we're going to get into just hearing that clean without the rack, and then getting into what it sounds like with the rack. All right, so let's get into this. If you guys have any questions, please email us, sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. If you guys are interested in our online or in-studio courses, Academy, Producer Program, and short courses, email kyle@garnishmusicproduction.com. And we have 8 locations worldwide. So if you're not in the Bay Area, if you're in LA or New York, anywhere really, check out check out Garnish in general, Garnish Music Network. And we have a boutique studio, most likely in your neighborhood. We're going to get into Ableton Live, like I said, and I'm just going to start off by just the general organization, because a lot of things are missed by how confusing things can look on the screen. We're looking at session view right now. But if you organize your files accordingly, using your collections up here on the right-hand side, we're going to learn how to organize our custom racks into our folder here, naming our folder, and just going through. This is what we have right here. Also these drum racks that we like. And we're going to hopefully have it to where you guys can do this for yourself as well. All right. So, yeah, we did miss last week due to the smoke here in California. Sorry about that, y'all. But I'm really grateful to come back with the old new T5 camera right here, 50 millimeter lens. We had to put in black, what is it called? Magic Lantern, it's called. Magic Lantern, put a new software into it, and it's back up and running after being down for about a year. So hurrah for that. Little side note for you all. All right, let's go ahead and just listen to a little bit something here. I have the Akai MPK Mini attached, doing some effects, fade to gray into this beat. And so what we have here is we're looking at the gourd drum beat. And what I want to do is kind of match that pattern of the kick. So that's what we're going to try and do here. And this is our push 2 that we're kind of sliding over to be in the right location to do our MIDI mapping into the bass channel. We have in record mode right here. As you can see, it's in record mode, and it's in also auto, so we can hear that going on. One thing I want to make sure too is that when I play the bass, I want to hear the exact tone you guys are. I have it currently set up to where I hear the actual bass. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm using the X32. All right. All right. So we got our bass working there. It's pretty quiet. Now I'm going to get into how we did this. Let's just go ahead and take this out. Chung, chung, chung. We're going to not delete it, but just mute this over here. So you're going to hear it totally raw. And on the X32, I do have all of my high rolled off. So everything above probably, I would say 6K kilohertz is rolled off. So it just has some more warmth to it. We're doing something similar here with this one as well. But I flattened out the X32 EQ, and I've also made this to where this is just the raw ukulele bass. So not exactly thumping as much as we want. So what I want to do here is turn this on. Let's just make sure we can hear this. And this is with. And you guys can't really see everything else here, but I'm noticing that it's peaking a little bit on my X32. So my stage gaining, I'm going to bring that back a little bit, the trim, and then I'll have to turn it up a little bit in other areas. All right, bringing that back to, you can always double click this, goes to 0 nominal. All right, and we can even roll this off a little bit more. So what we've done is we put essentially just a small EQ, compressor, chorus, and limiter, and then this utility at the end is pretty much set to nothing right now. We could put it on mono or bass mono below a certain frequency, but this whole thing mono is great because we want all the bass to be mono. Let's go ahead and try that out. And I noticed you guys didn't see any of that because my face is over it. So what I was changing here is our mono settings, and the SF Garnish logo is also in the way. Let's bring that down even more. All right. You guys can see that now. So what I'm doing here is on this utility, I just have this put into mono because anything in the lower register, you just want to keep in the mono range. Otherwise, you have to really work on the phasing and, deal with possibly putting your phasing on left and right. So that's just a suggestion, is everything I would say below 600 hertz, 300 hertz even, would be good. So let's go ahead and listen to this a little bit. And when I'm tracking the bass here, I like to look at the MIDI. So I'm going to bring that up. And you can see these notes right here. Bottom is the gourd low. Okay, so we'll just do a little pass of this. All right. So what this did is it actually did a fixed length to one measure. And what we're looking at here is the bass of that one measure. Let's just see if I can move this around, put it in the place where we want. This is some ways of how you can edit. All right, so it's not quite the right length because we want to double that. So essentially, fixed length. I'm gonna click this. It's set to 4 bars right now. We're gonna do 8 bars. Okay, phrase syncing on, and let's try that again. So what we're going to do is just kind of bring in a certain area of this we want. And we'll just bring this back out. Let's make sure this is in the right area. Oh, I see. This is a 7/4 odd time. So I don't think I got too much into this. Maybe in a previous episode. Up here, we're in 7/4 with a 4/4 odd time. And so when I look at this beat, notice how it has a measure, a measure, a measure, and then 2 more beats right here. Okay. So that's going to be the same thing with this. We're going to have to make sure our bass matches that or purposely does a different sequence. There we go. So not the perfect take, but what we have here is our bass line, and it has some room here. If you guys want to bring your gain up, you can always do this. Obviously, you want to have it be in a pretty hot area coming in, because when you bring this gain up, it also brings in all these artifacts around here as well that you're going to hear. So great. So that's there. And now let's just go ahead and look at this rack for a moment, because what we're talking about here today is custom racks, and we're just talking about this bass rack at first. As you can see, this isn't even set up yet. We have all of our macros are completely clean, but everything is in this one rack, right? So let's go ahead and just solo this out. So it's nice to be able to have a rack where you can just, you know, mute on or off to do a dry wet comparison. And how we created this, let's just go into the basics of this, is taking individual parts, okay, and then putting them together. Let's go ahead and just delete this for now so you guys can see this. And I'm realizing I'm working all on the bottom screen today, so I might as well put myself way up here. Let's turn this around. You like the sound effects? All right. Okay. So here we are. Make this a little bit bigger. Bring this up. All right. I realized I had to redo this because of a camera. So there we go. We can pretty much see everything now. So what I'm working on down here is this custom rack from left to right. If you guys aren't seeing this, you might be in your waveform. If you click on this bottom area, you go between your wave or MIDI being seen or your effects rack, right? It's back and forth. So we're in our effects rack, and these are our macros. We can bring them down now. This is in 11. You can just bring them down to, 1 at minimum, unless you want to use more. But let's just keep that nice and clean. And we dropped in these compressions, EQ, the chorus, and utility just by taking something and dragging it to the end of the chain and dropping it in. You have the option of dropping it at the end of a chain or in the chain or outside the chain. Notice how there's a little line that shows up and it shows you where it's being dropped. When I drop it outside the chain, it's going to be in this rack, but it will not be a part of the effects rack, essentially, from right here. See how when I highlight this, the limiter is not included? So, yeah, just something to be aware of is if you have an effects rack and you want something else added to it, you can just drag and drop it into that chain, right? And have something extra. So I'm going to delete that for now. What else can we want in this effects rack? Let's say some type of like phaser, or yeah. We're going to go into effects, utility effects rack, crossover phaser. Let's just see if this sounds okay. So as I drop this in, a little bit of a wah effect. Now notice there's some panning going on. I'm going to bring this panning mono to the end of this. Notice how it completely goes mono because I put the utility after in this chain, right? So all of that effect panning is going on here. It's making that mono again. If you ever double click, it will go back to 0, just to start off. And then just do a comparison, right? On and off. All right, so a little bit of a wah effect. Let's see that with the beat. Now, some of these notes I'm not totally keen on. So because it's not a MIDI, I'm going to have to actually draw them out. Right? This is all of our effects. How you can pretty much draw them. This is device on or off. Now, what else should we use? Crossover. Let's go to mixer and volume. Zooming in. Let's make this nice and clean. So notice how those few notes that I didn't like, I can bring those out. This note was a little bit too loud. bring that back a little bit. This is the note that was kind of more heavy that I wanted. Right on the kick. All right, so we have a nice 4/4 thing going on. Notice how this right here is automated, right? So your volume, your main volume is automated. What I would probably do is instead of putting it there, I would probably want to put it onto this, our utility, so that in the final mixing, you know, you want to be able to change just slight volumes here and not, you know, like when I move this now, see how it grayed out? That means that all those customizations, right, are gone, you know, till I say either show automation or re-enable automation. So what I want to do is show automation, go in here and it shows it. I'm going to come out and highlight this area, and I'm going to cut it out and put it into the exact area that I want, which is in utility. So I'm coming into my mixer utility, and let's go into gain structure, right? And right away, I want to highlight the same area and Command V. I did Command X before, right? And put that in. So it's a lot louder because the gain structure is a little bit different. So I highlight that same area and just bring it down to where I want, which is probably about right there. And now I can mess around with this one, right, freely. And when I go onto my rack, this is why that utility is really helpful at the very end of your rack. I would put a utility on pretty much every instrument, just because it's super helpful for the gain staging like this, if you want certain things out at certain moments, but not wanting to affect your main volume of that channel. And then, so we just added in this crossover phaser, kind of creates that wah effect. And let's say on this macro, we want something to be affected here. Let's try doing something from the crossover phaser. Something that will make it big. All right, so this one makes a big change, so we can kind of hear the difference on that. So what I want to do is phaser feedback, right-clicking on this and saying point to macro 1, because we see macro 1 is on the left-hand side. And there it is. So now when I adjust this, it is changing the phaser feedback. This is where the rack and these extra macros you can add in can be super helpful, right? You can go all the way up to 16. I'm going to go back down just to that 1, just to kind of clean it up and bring it back to kind of where we were. And from here, I'm going to click on save, which is that little hard disk in the bottom left where my pointer is. I'm going to click on save. And this is not a vocal effects rack. This is more so bass, ukulele with phaser. And the effect of the phaser is like a wah pedal, essentially. And I'll say 01 because sometimes I do another version of it, 02, etc. I'm going to click on that, and now notice it's not in my custom racks area yet, which is my orange. And by the way, you can just right-click and rename all of these, right? Otherwise, it's just called orange. So I want to go and have it in here so I can easily access that. So bass, ukulele. It's not in there yet, so audio effects all with wah. Right-click it and go racks custom. And now that orange little dot pops up and it's in this folder. Okay, you can always do your full search as well, but it's nice to have it right here. I notice how I also have some other bass racks, uka bass rack here. But essentially, I can put this into a new channel right away, maybe try that out on the stand-up sometime and see if that works out. And you can also MIDI map this phaser feedback to your Akai MPK Mini or your external hardware device very easily. So essentially you do that by going Command M and then moving the knob that you want to bring that to. Command M to get out. So as we're playing it, I don't have to use my mouse anymore. All right. So once you have a rack like that, that's how you first save it, right? It's hard disk, that little button right there. And then it comes up here, you name it, and then put it into your collections up here. A lot of people put so many things in your collections that it's just as hard to find things. I personally like to keep it nice and small. Look how small each section is. But it's great to find the instruments that you like right away. Something that also happens is that once you have an effect like this, you can just throw that rack onto another instrument right away and even start from there to create something else. All right, so here we are. Notice how when I go to this other bass part, my gain, right, that red dot goes away, which is the automation that we put in. The automation is only on the channel that we automated, which is really helpful, right? There's just this one right here. If we're not seeing it, right, that's because we are on the phaser frequency. Instead, we want to go back into the one that's red. Gain structure of the utility, and I can zoom out and you guys can see that gain structure again. So don't worry if you guys don't see your automations. You can always find it really easily by just going into your envelopes and looking for the ones that have red on them to see which ones are being affected. If you have a bunch of automations going on, it can start getting confusing. In arrangement view, there's a way to drop down your effects, which is really helpful as well. So you can just add those in if you want. So let's go ahead and just see if I can show you that really quick. Bass stand up, chunk, chunk. All right. So let's go ahead and just record something over here onto the side. I'm going to press record up here. I click in and can engage that channel. All right. So we have that automation coming in on our effects chain, which I put down here. And it looks like here it actually shows where that effects is. So on 11, looks like they've taken out the little plus function that normally is on the tracks. You can engage any of these easily over here. And I'm going to go ahead and shift stop clip, which turns off all the tracks in session view. Just turn this one on. All right. So there is our track. And I'm not seeing what I want to see here. Maybe I need to do a restart or something. I sure hope they didn't take away showing automation in arrangement view. All right. All right. So the effects in our channel is working, right? Which is our fade to gray, which is right here. Say show automation. Trunk. All right. So I see. For some reason, A is not the shortcut for automations right now, or my A function is not working. Keyboard A normally brings automate in and out. But maybe that's changed. So now that we're in automation mode, we can then press our plus button to see which different automations are in here, right? So this is essentially the only automation that we have in this one. Let's go ahead and, I mean, we could also just bring this one down so we can look at something else. And there it is, our gain structure is right there. Notice how we just did it one time and it will loop that forever on your track, which is super helpful. And this is where you can kind of have these customizations where maybe on every other phrase you want this beat entirely out or something. And we can just do that every other one. And then you can just take this whole thing and you can then duplicate that, right? So you have that every time now. All right, so notice how it's not coming back again because our automations down here on our main chain is still turned on. So we want to actually bring this down. Let's go ahead and make this look a little bit better. We can start bending them how we want. So that comes back in and nothing else is in there yet. So we can always take something else and bring that in later. So we're going beyond just doing the racks. We actually are working in arrangement view now. If you do something in arrangement view that you like, that you want to bring back into session view, you can just copy and paste in. Chunk and paste. And notice how these effects actually stay even if you are in session view, right? So you have to really be aware of where your cursor is on arrangement view. So I'll be way over here, and let's take this completely out. Fade to gray is just gone. So we can just hear. And let's make sure that this is doing what we want. So it didn't actually do the part that we want. Let's go back and make sure we capture that. So sometimes if we have a double phrasing, right, we're going to want to make that join, let's see, Command J, consolidating that whole track into one part. And then copy and paste over to our bass track. Good. And let's go ahead and change the color so we know that this is the one we're working on. And gain structure. chunk. And notice how our bass is here with the soft and loud, and then here it's completely out muted and then loud. Soft and loud, completely out muted and loud. And we essentially took that phrasing and the longer phrase and brought it into session view so that we can utilize that better for our live show or whatever else we want to do with our songwriting, right? Maybe this is just creating the initial song so we can do other instruments over the top. So going a little bit beyond racks, like I said, but it's really cool, just the workflow back and forth. You can also copy and paste into arrangement view from session view. It's as easy as that. So we have that option to just copy and paste instead of having to play it and record it, for example. You just want to make sure that you copy and paste it into the same channel, right? Bass to bass. If you do like the bass into your vocal channel, the effects on that channel probably will be totally different. Or if you take a whole line of these and copy and paste them over, you want to make sure, I'm pressing shift, by the way, on the first, clicking the last one, copying, and then pasting over. So that's from 27 to 4 below on the gourd. So on this one, I find 27 and 4 below on the gourd and paste it in. Notice how it goes down 4, right? And the colors match up too, which is kind of a convenient feature. So just some cool things to work out. I'm going to command select all and delete. So all of my automations are deleted and all of what we just did. That really helps it out when you are in arrangement view at a show. You don't want certain automations to happen, then that's a way to clean it up. But like I said, at a show, it's nice to have sections where you purposely put certain effects on, maybe even set some little cues up here and rename this to like fade to gray with break or something. And you can, have this marker be Command M queued up by a button, right, on your device. And right away, it has that come in. Boom. So here we are. We pretty much did the bass rack, and I want to make sure that you guys can create your own racks for whatever instrument that you have, including instruments within Ableton, right? If you're using simpler, for example. So let's go ahead and get into this vocal. Notice how this is a vocal rack that we have here, custom rack. And it's nice to kind of pare that down. I have a compressor, EQ, chorus limiter, and utility, exact same way. And the EQ rolls off all the lows below 100, and it peaks it out just around 11 or 1200 frequency, 1200 hertz. So this is a way that you can easily customize your racks and save them into your custom rack section here. Like I said, if you have any questions about this, please email us, sf@Garnish Music Production. We have our short courses going on all the time. We have a whole new course, Ableton 101.2.1, starting in September and October. We also have Ableton coming to visit Javad, the West Coast rep, to do a session, I believe the 21st of September from 6 to 9 at our Beer and Beats, which is happening every Tuesday, 6 to 9 p.m. I believe next Tuesday, it might not be in person. We also do Zoom. So, and just remember, West Coast Wednesdays. Check it out, y'all. Every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We just missed last Wednesday, but we've been doing this since February 2021. And we've been having some fun customizing these racks and working with our collections today. So let's go ahead and get into something special. We're going to go and put a MIDI track just below. I did Command-Shift-T to create that. That's a shortcut. And what I like to go into here is let's just bring in a simpler by itself into this channel. Now, when you have the simpler, it says drop sample here. Any sound that you make can essentially be that. So let's go ahead and do something. Okay, I'm noticing that my voice is coming up on 11 right now. This is through my X32. And what I want to do is show you guys what is happening with this channel sound. Okay, so I'm going to turn off this mic so you only hear what's coming through the channel. Let's try this out. All right. So you guys are hearing what's in this channel. The reason why I want to do this is that we can start talking about certain frequencies. I'm bringing this larger here just by clicking on this little triangle right here. And the reason why we're putting up this frequency right here, just by a couple 3 dB or so, is because around 1,000 to 4,000 is a sweet spot for vocals. 11 to 12 is like that really sweet spot to make it pop out. Your other rhythm instruments could be down here. So this is essentially how we would kind of find out where my voice wants to be, right? So let's bring that back to where it was. And that is how this custom rack is going to be for now. If you guys want a little bit more gain, you can bring that gain structure up, and right away you guys are going to hear more of my voice, right? We're also hearing a little bit of background sound. I believe the AC just kicked in around here. I normally turn that off for the show, but no problemo. What I want to do here is probably take off the chorus so it's just a little bit cleaner, and then put my compression on to where it's engaging my voice, right? So I'll bring that down just a tad bit. It will also make it a little bit louder. This is a way that if you have a talk show or if you have something like that, you can do a lot of your things right in Ableton. If you don't have X32 external hardware that has, custom EQs and compressions like this, you can use your DAW, your digital audio workstation, to do that for you. I did turn it off in my live feed and my headphones, so we're both hearing the same thing. What's special about this as well is that when I put my fade to gray on, it actually works for the live show as well, or your live set. Okay, so this custom rack here, once again, I brought this down to just 1. Let's go ahead and just save this as the newest feature of this. Let's go back to custom racks and see where I'm at with my vocals here. What number? Vocals effects 01. I think that's the one I'm on. Let's go ahead and click on this, and we will say 02. And now that 02 is there, I'm going to bring this into my custom racks, excuse me. And when I come back to custom racks, my 02 is here. This organization is super helpful, you guys, because it's going to just save you a lot of time with just coming into your DAW and just being creative and not having to redo a custom rack every time, right? So here it is. 02 is in and 01 is there. Let's take out 01. Let's take it off. Let's clear all colors. So the next time I come in there, I just have my 02 involved, right? And let's go ahead and put a sound into this just for a sec. I'm going to make sure that this is the only recorded channel. And let's just start here. Pressing record and then play. Actually, I'm going to turn my click on so I can play to a beat. And let's go to 4/4. Yeah. All right, so we have this sound here. And what we want to do is bring this into our simpler. I'm also noticing I really like the feature of the A function where you can take out scene, the automation here, all your red. And I'm not sure why mine is not working today. I'll have to get back to you on that. Maybe my keyboard went out. So we're going to go essentially into this and drag it in. Notice how I had to actually click on 8 simpler and then just one time on the vocal. Otherwise, the simpler would go away. So you have the option of classic, one shot, and slice. Okay. If I slice this up, what's nice is that when I go, let's go ahead and put this in record. I'll keep both in record so you can hear my voice still. And in my push, it has each hit that I did, right? Now it's a little bit soft. So this is where your custom rack can really come in handy. I'm going to drop this into my simpler at the very end. Now this is the vocal, the on 02 that we just created. And we already have it dB increased by 10 dBs right here at the very end. So that's a way that you can make sure you can hear a little better. Right, so I'm putting my slider on from the push 2 onto the sounds that I just created with my voice, and I'm using the custom rack that we also just made to put onto the simpler. Okay, so notice how right away we have these two put together, right? And we can essentially group them, okay? So what I just did there is I selected the first one and selected the second. The first is the simpler, the second is our custom rack, and then I pressed Command G. Command G allowed me to create this little itty bitty thing over here on the side, and that is our new custom rack. Okay, if I take that away, we're looking at what's inside of it. It's showing that, and all of our macros. Let's bring that down. So in this custom instrument rack, right, we now have our simpler with our vocal, with our utility, you know, bringing up the gain by that much. So that is how easy it is to get this going on. And macro variations, such a helpful thing, right? Macro variations allows you to change a setting and then allow it to be something you can easily recall. So let's go ahead and get into that with this rack, because this is something that can really be a game changer for your live show and your creativity as well. I'm going to create something that just has some natural panning going on, auto pan, effects. Actually, let's go into effects here, auto filter, auto pan. All right, so I want to put this into our effects rack right here. And let's go change our amount, bring that up. Our rate, let's make it a little bit slower. Phaser, keep that there. Shape that a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is create a macro to turning this on and off, right? When we go down to 0, etc. So this can be set to macro 1, and this can also be set to macro 1. Okay. So going all the way out here. So when I bring this down and we just want to see this, right? Just like that, we have something going on where we can now have this macro really have some fun with our panning and play the beatbox and the tones that we just created. Okay. Now, if we want something that's all the way on, press new here and say rename. This is going to be pan on, caps lock. Maybe that's why that wasn't working before. Pan on. And then we'll do another one, pan off. Macro variation, rename, pan off. All right. So when you click this, it goes right to the position, right? And what's special about this is we just did one effect as we created this, but you can essentially put many different effects onto here at the same time. Like this pan on, for example, I think that going just back in and putting that phaser, I think would be a great thing to just try out. Audio effects. What kind of... Let's try this phaser over here at the end of our chain. And let's just try this out. So this would be phaser on or off with the dry wet we can essentially do. And it created a new one here. But what I want to do is actually, let's go ahead and delete this and let's play on this one. Phaser on, and then chunk. Phaser off. All right, maybe because we actually put this in after we created our rack, that is a possibility. But we can always press this right here and it takes a snapshot of where you are currently. So this on and off, we will do that. Okay, so our phaser is on. So now we can name this, rename pan on, pan slash phaser on. And then the next one is going to be renamed pan phase off. All right, I didn't actually put these in the right positions, I think. Amount, and there we go. All right, so this is why you actually want to create extra macros at times, okay? Because we essentially want to create an extra macro so that we can have this phaser dry wet be picked up. Okay, macro 2, it's being sent in this chain to macro 2 here, which we want to see, dry wet, and then macro 2, dry wet. And so this is a good learning lesson. We have to actually have it in this rack, essentially. So phaser on, and that, and we're going to go on, and then go to this one and snapshot it again. And now when we go back and forth, both are on, both are off. All right. So we've created this custom rack. Let's go ahead and save this one. And this is going to be called Simpler. With phase and pan, phase pan, on, off. Okay, 01, J, Always put my initial here because we have other people creating some racks too. And I guess we can't do a slash mark on, off. There we go. All right, so now we have this custom rack. Boom, put that into our custom rack folder and it is there. So there it is. If you guys have any questions about this, please let us know. Our number is pretty easy, 510-463-GROW or 510-463-4769. And our boutique studio is based in North Oakland. It's a pretty awesome studio. Soul Graffiti Studios has been around for almost 10 years now. And we pride ourselves on running our studio with Ableton and Logic. We also have Pro Tools as well, but Ableton and Logic are our main bread and butter there. It's an audio video studio. A lot of great gear. We have the Nautilus 802 speakers, B&W speakers in Studio A, and we'd love to see you guys there. Come out to a Beer and Beats 6 to 9 every Tuesday. I believe September 21st, we're going to have Javad from Ableton joining us for a special event. And yeah, we just want to get the local community and the community at large involved because we also have online classes worldwide. And if you're closer to LA or New York or Miami, Nashville, there's locations there as well. We even have some in Tokyo and Europe. So once again, check out sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. Thank you to the Garnish Music Network for having us out. Today, we were talking once again about custom racks and how we customized two things today, which is an instrument rack using the ukulele bass, right? And vocals. So it's an actual thing that we're recording in. But then we also brought that into the digital world by taking an instrument like a beatbox and then putting that into a rack with Simpler, and then customizing our phase pan on off right here. And this is a great way to just easily flow through your effects and not have to dial a bunch of knobs. It's just put them right in and make it automatic, right? Anything that you want to have at just a click of your finger, make that happen. Other times you want to purposely kind of dial that certain effect and make it throw nice or anything like that, essentially. So once again, I want to give a big shout out to Garnish Music Network for having us out, and that we can do a lot of different things here with this. We can actually throw different effects on at any point during a show. Beat, repeat, fade to gray. We have different effects, reverbs we can put on here, chorus, and essentially this is what you want for your live show or your creativity. And we're going to help you guys do that at SF Garnish Music Production and the Garnish Music Network. Come join our academy. It's a 360 plus hour academy with studio time and one-on-one mentorship with our amazing teachers. We have people worldwide taking this, and our producer program is 120 hours, and our short courses are 18 to 36 hours. It's been really great doing West Coast Wednesdays, 11 to 12, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to take it out here. Just really grateful that we have a clear day in California. The smoke has been horrendous here where I'm at. We've had to evacuate a few different times. And yeah, that's why we didn't do last week. So sorry about that. But we'll be here next week, barring the end of the world and or anything outside of our control. But we are super stoked to just be doing this as much as we can and helping people out with their audio and video production. So check us out, 510-463-GROW, and we'll see you again really soon.